Hi, I'm Jacques Levesque, and if you're looking at this video, it's likely because you've been named to a board of some kind, possibly your first board. So, congratulations. You're beginning your role as a director, and it's a wonderful and exciting kind of opportunity for anybody. You will hopefully by this point had a board orientation of some kind and received a policy book or board book to help you become acquainted with the organization. I'm now going to take you through what you can typically expect at your first or any board meeting that you would attend. Prior to the board meeting, typically about a week or so, you'll receive a board package, a meeting package. It could be very thick or relatively thin, depends on the organization. It could be in paper format or it might be electronic, depending on how sophisticated your organization is. In there you'll find the agenda for the meeting, a variety of different information pieces, prior minutes, and subject matter for discussion, as well as typically the financials for the organization and a number of other things. On the appointed date and time, please show up on time out of respect for the other board members and be ready to discuss the key items on the agenda. The chair will open the meeting and usually follow some kind of traditional rules of order, Robert's Rules of Order, or some other method. There are quite a few, but most boards don't adhere to them very, very strictly. The chair will usually have opening remarks, and then there will be a discussion of any potential conflicts of interest that directors may have for the subject matter that's planned to be discussed during the meeting. Then you'll go into reviewing the agenda for the meeting, and that's your opportunity to add items if you think something should be added to the meeting. And then often a board will use what's called an element of consent agenda, where a number of topics would be treated and approved collectively. If anyone has a problem or a question on any individual item within the consent agenda, that would usually be withdrawn so that you can discuss it later, and then the remaining items will then be discussed and typically voted on as a group. The first item of business is usually to review the previous meeting's minutes, and that's an opportunity for people to ask questions, to clarify or modify the minutes from the previous meeting. That may also include some meeting minutes from committees, if that is appropriate for your situation. From there, you'll typically go on to the president's or the executive director's report on what has been happening with the organization for the last little while. That may include reviewing the financials and key results or scorecards describing how well the organization has been doing compared to plan. Then you'll often go into a number of different presentations, some of them for information, others for discussion and approval for some kind of resolution. It is a better practice to have resolutions developed and written down and provided to you as a director ahead of time so you can anticipate what you're being asked to do or approve as a director. You always have the opportunity to ask questions, and when the time comes to actually make a decision, the chair will ask someone to move the motion, even though it may already be in your board book. A second person will be there to second the motion. There will then be some discussion, at least that's the theoretical part of how it should work, and then you'll be asked to vote on the issue. Typically, you will either vote for or against a motion. You may abstain, but that is not better practice. If you're abstaining, it's usually because you have a conflict of interest, and if you have a conflict, in all likelihood, you should have excused yourself from the room before the discussion even began. Then at the end of the meeting, you should go into what's called an in-camera session, where all members who are not, where all people who are not members of the board are excused, and then the board can have a confidential discussion about how the meeting went, talk about the materials, perhaps provide feedback to the CEO or other persons, and then there'll be a meeting evaluation form that you can fill in either at the meeting or thereafter. So there you have it. That's a typical board meeting that you would expect to find almost anywhere, and committee meetings would be very similar to this. So I hope you find this useful and that you can put it to good use at your first or other board meetings in the future.